Hello and welcome to Spring 2024 and online biopsychology. So my name is Mark Kavanaugh. I'm your instructor for this class. As an online class, I'll be producing these videos each week, going into what to expect with the coming week, what the assignments are, what's coming up, those kinds of things. And to start off here, we're going to take a look at Brightspace and what I've prepared for you this semester. So as you come into Brightspace, your video's here, obviously, and you want to go to the content link up here. And the first link, Overview and Syllabus, brings you to a page where you have a little bit about the course here, the start date, the end date. We're online with no synchronous, no video components here. A little video about how to use Brightspace if you need that. And then, very important part here, the course book. The course book is a book published by me that contains all the lectures, notes, videos, resources, and the descriptions of the assessments, discussions, quizzes, and assignments for the entire class. That stuff is not in Brightspace. It's in this book. And you can get that in 4 ways. There's a free PDF. So even if you're waiting for one of the other ways, you can go to the PDF. It's available on day 1 to get into the material, get a free PDF. You can purchase it from iBooks for $6.99. That goes onto your iOS device, iPad or iPhone, or it plays on your Mac. You can get a print version of it from Amazon, and that same print version is available in our campus store. So this is the vital book to get. Now, I also adopted a textbook, and this is a brand new resource here. This textbook is available in the bookstore. It is new to me, and there's a lot of material in the textbook that I don't include in the course book. All you need is the course book. If you are really into biopsych, I suggest you get the textbook as well and read the textbook. It goes into more depth. It provides a different voice. Maybe it's better explanations, those kinds of things. I leave that to you in terms of making that decision on the use of the textbook. In this same page, we start scrolling down, a little bit of information about me, support resources here, the instructional hierarchy if you have issues or complaints, and then the course syllabus. The next link here, the only other link you have to worry about is the course timeline. Now you read through all this material and you'll find that this is a description of the things that we are doing week to week. So in week 1, there is a chapter 0, just an introduction area. And then we have chapter 1, chapter 2. And these blue things here, these are links to, there's an assignment Dropbox, there's a discussion board, there's a quiz, these kinds of things. And those assignments, discussions, and quizzes are described in the course book. They won't be described there. They're going to be, look at the course book, you read the material, look at the course book, do whatever it is telling you to do, and then come here and participate in the discussion, quiz, assignments, and whatnot. Now this first assignment, actually a pretty heavy-duty one to start our semester off. In the field of biopsychology, there are themes that we sort of, when we're trying to explain things from a biological perspective, solely trying to explain everything, it's sort of a kind of a challenge. Can we explain behavior purely biologically? And we can look at these things through these themes, and we can describe the behavior from these perspectives. Now, the first perspective is pure psychology, a systematic description of the behavior. So we're looking at observable behavior. Very much like when you talk about in behavior management, what can I see? What are the movements that I see? What do I hear? What do I smell? What do I, whatever it is about, whatever somebody's doing something, we're engaging in a behavior. All kinds of behaviors we can't see. We can't see people thinking. We can't see people deciding unless they act out that decision. That's very observational. What do we observe? Now, we can, however, observe our own thought processes. So if you want to take on a behavior like my own thinking, like daydreaming, for example, let's use that one. I'll use that as an example. So daydreaming, that's the behavior I want to choose for this assignment. So from a pure physical description point, my body remains at rest, my eyes soften their gaze, and then my mind starts to wander as it goes from node of thinking to one topic to the other. And then I imagine myself on a cruise ship hanging around on the deck. I've got a nice drink in my hand, warm sun, breeze coming off the ocean, those kinds of things. I could describe that whole thinking process as it separates me from the environment that I'm in at the moment, which is not a cruise ship. Trust me. So that would be the first perspective, that pure description of that. The second one is evolutionary. Now, what would be the evolutionary advantage of being able to daydream such that it was selected for inclusion in our ability to do that? Now, sometimes you have to do a little bit of research from this, and I'm coming from a perspective of, having done a lot of psychology already. So I know that daydreaming is that lowest level of dissociation. It's actually not a bad thing to do every once in a while. Daydreaming allows for a relaxing journey while you're doing something that's difficult. Don't spend all day there. Don't spend too much time there. Don't spend important time there. But it's okay to daydream every once in a while to give yourself a rest from an arduous task. So could it be that individuals that had the ability to dissociate a little bit had lower stress levels and were able to handle themselves better? Maybe they were able to come up with more creative ideas because they allowed themselves to relax. Maybe they just dreamed about things that eventually they were able to apply later. All speculating, but that trait may have been selected by natural selection for continuing on in our species. Now, it's interesting that people have different capacities to do that, so it's not something that's universal. The next one is ontogeny. Now, the ontological perspective, had to search the memory banks for that, is how did it develop over time as a function of maturation and genetics? So I would say, well, the ability to imagine things is a higher order brain function, the ability to daydream and tell stories and whatnot. So you might look at a developmental chart to see at what point in our development did we actually gain that capacity. It's probably somewhere in early childhood when we started being able to imaginary play. And that imaginary play allowed us to put in fact, that might have been part of the evolutionary part. Kids that could imagine things, people that could, engage in that creative process of imaginative play were probably smarter and they were more likely to survive. So here we have this developmental, infants don't do it, and then we get it when we have imaginary play. And then as we get older, we start being able to recognize when can we do this, when can we not do this, and it's sort of like the moral aspect of that, and that changes over time. And then maybe in late life, we're able to do it at will. We're able to free when we can enjoy our free time and we can daydream and do those kinds of things. So kind of a life cycle. That's what that one's about. Then we look at biological mechanisms. What's involved in a daydream? This is going to require research, and this is a lot of what we're going to be doing in this class is where is this located in the brain? Where does this happen in the brain? So you're going to have to look it up. Daydream in the brain, or the neurology of a daydream or something like that, and look it up and see which parts of the brain. It's probably similar to visual memory, sensory memory. So there's going to be some prefrontal, There's going to be some amygdala involved for the emotional component. There's going to be some thalamus here in terms of activating the brain. There's going to be cortical areas where we store memories about the cruise ship, about the smells, the taste of that drink, the heat of the sun, being able to replicate all that. Maybe that even goes into our sensory memory, so part of us can even taste, smell, see, and feel those things, imagination, when we're on a good daydream. And then finally, application. And this will be, how do we use this to function in our world? And we start to see that evolutionary component, activating our brains component. Why is it important that this happens? What is the basically the function? What is the function of this particular behavior? So the assignment for chapter 0 is for you to consider a purely biological perspective of a behavior. I picked daydreaming. Pick a behavior and do a deep dive into that. And this challenge yourself with this. Look up each one of these. Deep dive. It's not in the book. It's not something that's going to be in the book. It's not something in the course book. It's not in the textbook. You're going to have to be creative and even imaginative about how this behavior can be described from any one of these perspectives. And write it all out and submit that paper as your first assignment. As you go into Brightspace, you're in the timeline, you're going to see that in week 2, we start in earnest with chapters 1 and chapter 2. We looked at the structure and function, and then we look at neurophysiology, those first 2 chapters in the book. And we'll be getting into those in the next week. So kind of an interesting, intense assignment to begin, and then we're going to be getting into the study of all those pieces that come together and shape these perspectives that we've just talked about. So look forward to having a great class with you folks. Engage in the class. Get curious about this. Biopsychology, it's becoming a bigger and bigger part of my own study. It's the fastest growing area in psychology is biopsychology, or the physiological basis of behavior, genetics and chemicals and whatnot. And of course, substance use and, all of these things. Very, very focused on this area of psychology in research. So fun stuff to study. So look forward to getting to know you folks over the course of this semester, and have a great week, and I will see you in the discussion boards.